since they changed the deadline date. There's still like deadlines. I still have a March 1st Delaware franchise tax deadline, but I'm feeling like relieved right now, like in a huge way. This week was crazy anyways, because last week was a shit show.
Yeah.
And so like I had to reschedule everything to this week. So I was like overly booked this week, like back-to-back meetings. Like tomorrow was pretty back-to-back.
But it's pushing the deadline. Won't your time that you have free just get filled up with more work?
Yeah, but it's like this different kind of pressure. Like I'm totally down with more work. It's just that I don't have to do,
everything right now.
80 to 100 hours in 1 week. I can stretch it out. Do you know what I mean? Like a little bit more and have more of like be able to sleep. I don't have to stay up till 4 in the morning and then get up early and then stay again and have 3 or 4 hours of sleep a day. That sounds incredible. I'm going to actually maybe have sleep. That sounds amazing. And I'm 100% like decided. Like my birthday is April 11th.
Yeah.
I have never done a single thing for my birthday I've been in public accounting for 20 years almost. So I've never actually done anything for my birthday. Like my birthday consists of me being in my office and everyone bringing me gifts or food, like generally food. Come on, let's be honest. Everyone brings me like food pretty much. Like,
yeah.
Marcy makes me like a pozole.
Like not because it's your birthday, because you need to keep working and
Well, it's also my birthday. They come to visit me. It's like I'm dying in bed and they come to visit. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I have a margarita. I haven't drank it yet. I haven't tried it.
Okay. I have gin and a chaser. So
a chaser.
This should be fun. Let me make this live. Give me just a second.
Okay.
Expense your life. This is to make your life tax deductible.
You're so funny.
If you have questions, we'll try to answer them if we notice.
Yeah.
Is Brian going to join us?
Brian might join us. We'll see.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine.
He's in the bedroom right now, but he'll probably be jumping on work in a second. But we can probably drag him out in a little bit. We're in separate rooms right now.
So I guess we'll start off with why you're super excited. You said something deadline got pushed back, and what do you do?
Okay, so for Texas people, it got pushed back to June 15th. Like the March 15th deadline, which is like in 2 weeks, and the April 15th deadline got moved to June 15th. So like businesses, partnerships, corporations, individual returns, these are really big deals. It got moved to June 15th for Texas. Now, technically, for all my other state people, I can request an extension to June 15th since I live in Texas and they don't, but I could be like, hey, my client doesn't live in Texas, but like I live in Texas. So it extends them too, but I have to ask for permission. So I was telling one of my other clients from Colorado, I guess I'm just going to focus on a lot of my out-of-state clients.
Just start doing more customers from everywhere then.
Well, I am. But the thing is, I don't have to bug people. If you're not going to bring me their stuff, I'm not going to put them in the line or the queue. Like we have a queue, like whoever first come, first serve, first in, first out, FIFO method. Mm-hmm.
Do you only do business or do you also do?
Oh, I do everything. I do a lot of personal. I do corporations, S corps, partnerships, individual taxes, nonprofits. Even the nonprofit deadline's extended. I have to talk to Kelsey about that. We haven't talked because technically that would be moved to June 15th as well, I think. Mm-hmm.
That's exciting.
I have to double check on that, but yeah. Should be.
So you feel better because you have a lot of free time, but now you just told people that you can extend their.
Here's the thing, like you can extend the return because you can use extensions, but it's not an extension to pay. So like the fact that we have until June 15th to pay taxes, that's amazing. Because even if you don't have everything ready, like I still have to come up with an estimate, do the whole return to say, okay, we have to file an extension, but you got to pay X amount into it. And if I don't estimate it correctly, Then there's failure to pay penalties. It's a whole thing. So the fact that they're moving June 15 is amazing. I'm so excited.
I'm excited for you so that you can finally celebrate your birthday.
I know. So my birthday is April 11th. Brian's April 8th. I might just be out of town that
So
week.
do like all the CPAs, April birthdays are like, hey, let's all get together and do something big.
That's actually a good idea. We should all go to Vegas. Maybe that's very COVID-y. I'm not sure yet. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, something fun needs to happen. I don't know. I just always, like I was saying before, my birthday is always in my office and everybody comes and visits me on my birthday. They're like, here's some pie. Here's some cake.
Here's some caffeine tablets. Here's some ibuprofen.
I'm sorry, your birthday is on April 11th, like for the deadline date. Like, what's wrong with you? And then I always hear the same thing. They always say, you were made for this career. Yeah.
You're born for it.
Like, thanks a lot. I haven't heard that like every single year for the last 20 years.
So in the spirit of discussion, I have this mind map that I'm going to be filling out on the back end.
What are you doing? You're filling out what? You're supposed to be drinking
shots too.
Okay.
Or at least gin. I actually made this cocktail that's a 1-to-1 chaser and gin, so it's super strong. But
oh my God, yeah, mine's kind of strong too.
I'm going to create this mind map of, I guess we'll start off with like typing like just a bunch of hobbies. I didn't prepare for this, so we'll type a bunch of hobbies, things that we want in our lives, or that everyone should have in their lives, and then we'll just see how many businesses we need to have so that we can deduct everything. So recently for me, I got a dog. So if
a dog?
Yeah.
You can't deduct a dog, YJ.
You said if I had a breeding company, I could.
You have a breeding company. Are you doing a breeding company?
I mean, I will partner up with one. I don't know, but now that I know that I can deduct it that way, I'll be at a lookout for a breeding company.
I said that as a joke. Well, okay, because do you remember my rule?
So you're saying we can't deduct our dogs?
You can't normally. Like, this is a great. And I think I've told you this example, YJ. What do I always say? Like one of my tax clients was like, I hate tax, but I remember she remembered one thing from her tax class, and that one thing from her tax class she remembered is that a stripper can deduct her boob job. That's all she remembered the whole class. And I was like, that is a perfect example of a reasonable expense for the industry you're in. You just have to have a reasonable expense for the industry you're in. So people are like, give me a list of deductions. I'm like, what is it that you do? Does it relate to the industry? It's so different for so many different, I could say the same shit that everybody says, advertising, office supplies, whatever, but for your specific industry, it's going to be certain things. Like physical trainers, they have a completely different set of list of deductions than me. Like I can't deduct any of the stuff physical training stuff, although I don't do any physical training stuff. Not anymore. I haven't worked out in forever.
So how can I make my gym membership tax deductible?
No, okay. See, most of the time gym memberships are not tax deductible anywhere. But if you have an office space and you put a gym in it and all your employees or contractors or whatever got to use that as an employee benefit, totally different thing.
Got it.
So it's just in the way, there's some things that there's some things you can never deduct, like you can't deduct life insurance premiums like that you pay at all. There's just some things like for sure you can't. Gym memberships is very hard to do unless it's like some kind of internal, something that you have internal. By the way, they changed meals and entertainment to 100% deduction to help with restaurants. That's a big deal.
Nice.
That's a change for 2020.
Meals are now 100% deductible.
Yeah, there's some rules on it, but actually
business meals. As long as you bring out your business cards and consider this as conference meetings.
See, the meals and entertainment is a weird one because you can't really audit, like they can't prove that like you and I went to lunch and we were like talking about work or we were like gossiping about someone in our group. I don't know. My point is it's hard to tell. That's why it's always been 50%. Now you can't do all your meals and entertainment and just call it business. Like you really should have some personal, some business, because there's going to be some personal. You can't just like go on a date on a Hinge date and call that business meals, right? There's got to be some personal use.
Unless the way that you're dating is by meeting business partners.
That's different. That for you might actually work though, because you are looking for like a partner in business and love.
Just say that you are in consulting and you only specifically target female founders, or vice versa.
Yeah. What is it? Doesn't Bumble have a friends one? I just learned that.
No, they have a business one, and I don't know. You're right.
They have a friends one.
They do?
Why, Jay, not on Bumble or anything? Why aren't you on Bumble? Or
so gym memberships. Create an office space with gym equipment. All right. So fitness, we got that taken care of. And then a friend named Jonas, shout out to you, who created
Jonas.
So he doesn't have to pay for his fitness goals because
yeah, like a lot of his stuff he can actually deduct where I wouldn't be able to do that, or you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
He can deduct. He can even, like, if he created meal plans for people, he could buy produce and stuff for his meal plans to show everyone and like actually be able to deduct that stuff.
That's actually my next question. So like, how do we deduct your food? Besides, we talked about business meals are deductible, but also if you just own a restaurant or a food truck.
If you had like a party, which I guess is probably not the best idea during COVID, but like if, I don't know, like you did it the Kardashian way and had
a party.
You know how they like had a party and everyone got tested as they were going in? You had to have a test, a COVID test before you went to their party. I don't know if that's the safest thing to do. I don't recommend, but I know that's what they were doing. Like they were having a party, and before you got into the party, they would COVID test you. And so if you were having like an event for your coworkers, you could 100% call that like a business party, employee benefit kind of thing. I actually have a whole chart that somebody posted on my accounting group if you want to see.
Yeah, I can include in the blog post.
Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. It's actually pretty interesting because there's like still question marks on some things because we haven't really gotten 100% guidance on everything. So, you know, a lot of stuff sometimes there's like in between lines we have to read and make decisions conservatively on what to do. Comes with the territory. New laws, and since this one's fairly new, this is kind of what we had to do. Where is it? But why, what, are you not going to be, you're not on any dating app? Why, Jay?
First off, this is live. Second.
You can't answer that question live.
Second, this is about how can I make every single part of my life tax deductible.
Okay.
So
just getting
fitness, food, we have dogs and cats, we have breeder. Or just, I guess, does that apply to any animal? Oh, if you have a zoo.
Don't do zoo. That sounds terrible. That sounds sad. I feel like
why?
Zoos isn't
no, all the food are expenses, right? If you have a zoo.
Yeah, but like what kind of zoo?
And then you have all the animals in the world. It could just be different breeds of dogs and cats.
But isn't that like inhumane? Someone help me here. Isn't zoos inhumane? I feel, shouldn't they be living out in the wild and stuff? Versus,
well, you could have like a several acre farm and call it zoo and just
but people do a lot of nonprofits that way when they like save stuff. I would like if people are saving animals and stuff. Yeah, that's definitely like nonprofit status. Then we have to rope in Kelsey into this conversation, but still.
It'll be a nonprofit.
I assume it would be.
It means you can expense out a lot of things.
You don't have to make it a nonprofit. You can make it a profitable thing, but it just makes a zoo more legit if it's non-profitable. If that makes sense.
But for the purpose of just expensing out these pets, like the way that you're raising them, so all these vets and cares and all the people to manage them. We got it. So breeder and zoo.
I would suggest that though. I feel like that's not a good idea. Hold on.
As long as you expense it, right? That's the goal of this. It's like whether or not it's a good idea. Who knows? Because like I'm not gonna start like a million businesses, or if I could like work for someone who has a zoo. See if I can work for someone who has So speaking of one of them is books, right? So I
Oh,
love
books
reading.
are totally deductible. Here, I'm sharing this.
They're considered training
So
expenses, right?
yeah, continuing education, really, as long as
Okay.
it's like in your field, unless it's like fiction or something that's not related, unless you're a fiction writer, totally different. But yeah, most of the time all books are educational.
All is it all nonfiction books are educational or?
I mean, it depends. Like I said, if you were in the industry of writing fiction books and you're doing some research and you're buying books for fiction, totally different story. You can deduct it. But if, me, if I'm buying a fiction book, I'm not going to write that off because it's not like business related. I'm just like having fun. That's totally personal. Like I said, it has to relate to your business. So like, here's the.
Unless you own a library, bookstore.
I do own a bookstore. I do.
Yeah.
But
All your fiction books are tax deductible.
No, but that's for the bookstore. Under my CPA firm, I can't.
That you're reading because you're reviewing if you want this book, and
Well, that's what we have. We have previews for that kind of thing. Like they give us free books to preview them and do reviews on. Okay, did you see my chart?
Yeah.
Or not, this is not my chart. Someone else created this. But see, it's like 100% meals for public, meals for ads, advertising, meals overnight for business. That's still 50%. That's like travel. We have a question mark here because it seems like it's 100% with business groups. Some people are saying 50%. Meals before and after entertainment, there's two X's because it depends really on what kind of thing it is. But, and then of course, like they took away most entertainment. Like this used to be a thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We used to be able to do 50% of entertainment prior to Trump. Trump is the one who got rid of these things, just FYI. And yeah. So now business meals with an event, that's still tax deductible.
But that would be just the food part, or you mean the whole thing?
No, just the business meals. So let's say you went to a concert and with some clients and you took them out, that wouldn't be deductible. But if you got food, that would be deductible. Like the meals included in that.
Entertainment directly related to the taxpayer's line of business.
Oh yeah. Entertainment directly. So if it was like sporting goods and salesperson, see how it's like entertainment directly related to taxpayers' line of business? For instance, if you were a brewery and you went to another brewery, then that would be 100%. So, or any kind of entertainment relating to that specific industry that you're in.
Oh, got it. So if you own a vineyard and you're just doing a bunch of wine tastings.
Exactly. Yeah. But even entertainment, let's say you were a theater person and you went to other theaters for like more research or just like to check it out or to be in that industry, then that would be considered related to that line of business.
Do you have a customer that did something that you were
shady or not shady?
No, not shady. It was just you were surprised because you never thought it was tax deductible until you realized that's what their business does.
Oh, I pretty much try to find out every client that I have. I like research what they do. Like I try to know what every client, like especially new clients, I like look at their website. I ask them questions. I try to find out like everything that they do. So that way I know what's deductible, what's not. And then I can ask questions after the fact. So I pretty much know. Even I had like hunters or like farming industry, like a lot of different stuff is deductible there. Like breeding cows or anything like that. That's just totally different than like a normal line of business generally. But if you're like a hunting organization and you went out hunting, that would be totally 100% deductible for that line of business for sure. But you have to be like, where you can't like actually, you could have 3 years worth of losses, but then after that it's considered a hobby. Then you can't have a hobby loss. Does that make sense? So like you can't open a zoo and expect them not to think that this is a hobby. You just like animals. So
you said as long as you don't make a loss consecutive for 3 years, you're fine.
Yeah.
So like the 4th year, you can make like $1 profit and then.
Well, I probably would want either more of a profit or zero, or it goes away.
Okay.
Like super off. Side gigs are good, but they sometimes have losses, and the dream is to like for it to eventually make money. So the IRS understands like it's not making money, but it's some point it's just a hobby, not necessarily like a business. So they're very aware. Like it can make money and then lose money again. It's just like a time period, 3 out of 5 years. And it has to be something that shows like genuine concern, like you actually want it to be going. So I had an IRS auditor one time audit one of my clients, and they were like trying to tell them it's a hobby. And they didn't have more than 3 years worth of losses, but that they had hired their daughter and contracted her, and she put it on her return. Technically, it wasn't a hobby. She was actually making money off of it. So that they like were like, okay, yeah, you're right. This is actually a legit business, because they hired their daughter to do this, and their daughter like actually made money off of it and paid taxes on it. So they had to like basically say, yeah.
So even if he didn't make money, as long as someone's paying taxes at the end of the day.
It became obvious that they were in business because they want their daughter to make money. They didn't care about making money. They wanted, their daughter was running the whole thing and she was making money off of it. So they weren't going to shut it down. Did someone come in? Sorry, I can turn this off.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, you're writing a chart here of all of the things. So tell me more about your life and I'll tell you.
No, this is like brainstorming, like everyone's hobbies and everything that people like doing. You know, golfing, I guess you could own a country club.
No, did you not see my chart?
It's entertainment. It's, hey, if you own a country club, it's your.
Well, if you own a country club, sure.
Yeah.
If you're a golfer, like, and that's what you do for a living, then yes, maybe.
If you actually win, I guess you can deduct it.
Yeah, also, sure, if all the expenses related to your golfing, if you're actually like actively trying to make money off of it, yeah.
But if you aren't making, if you're not winning any championships, then you're just, there's nothing
but all
to
your
deduct.
travel expenses are still deductible because you're still trying to win.
Yeah, but if you're not getting any money at the end of the day from
but 3 years of losses is all you can take.
That's true. So drinking.
Drinking is definitely tax deductible in the sense of what you're doing. Remember that entertainment. And also it depends. Like a lot of my breweries will go to other breweries and they'll drink, and that'll be considered an expense. But it really depends on what you're doing with it. And honestly, if it's a reasonable expense for the industry you're in and you can explain it, like the IRS has got to, you can explain it. I've explained a lot of things to the IRS agents. If you can explain it, they're going to let you deduct it. So a lot of times it's really about how you're using it towards business. That's how you're going to be able to deduct it.
I didn't realize accounting was well, I guess it's not subjective as long as it makes sense.
It's just there's not a lot of black and white. There's a lot of gray. Like people are like, can I do this? And I'm like, well, it depends. Like most of the answer is depends. Like then I start asking questions and then I'm like, yes or no, it might be different for different people. It's a lot of, it depends. I need more information. I need more.
Oh my God, you just reminded me, my accounting professor at university, that was his response to everything. And just like, it depends. It's like, well, you just ask us a question and then you make us answer. And at the end of the day, the answer is it depends.
Well, it's not a science. You know what I mean? It's like, we're not supposed to use creative accounting because that's not right. But there's just so many other factors. Now this is talking about tax. We're talking about a whole other concept when we're talking about generally accepted accounting principles, when we're talking about SEC, when we're talking about public companies. That's like a whole other, there are yes and no's 100% there. There's a lot more objectivity on that side. But on the tax side, it's a little bit different just because it's so much. Even on the SEC side though, like I see accountants go back and forth this, and they like, there's a lot of like back and forth on, can you do this and can you do that? And same thing with tax. There's just so much workaround. There's so many different industries. There's something called the Cohen rule, where if it's a reasonable expense for the industry you're in, you should be able to deduct it. So like when someone says it's the Cohen rule to an IRS agent, technically they're supposed to allow you to deduct it because you said it's a reasonable expense for the industry you're in. Now they may want proof that it's a reasonable expense for the industry. Like they might want to see other industries that have that expense or something related to it. I once had an IRS agent that really didn't understand Facebook ads. She's $30,000 a month. What are they spending on? Like on Facebook ads? She was an older lady. I had to like show her like on Facebook how ads pop up. Anytime someone clicks on that.
So you would have to pay the IRS agents sometimes.
Oh yeah, all the time.
A reasonable expense all the time.
if they are questioning it. Now, when they audit anybody, they're not going to audit every single number. They're going to look at everything and see what seems unreasonable. And then they're going to ask for those reasonings. And they might ask for receipts, which you know my rule about receipts. You know my rule about receipts?
No, what is it?
But because only like big purchases, right? Like also, these are my rules. One, never use cash. You want to deduct something, you never use cash. Anything you've learned from Dave Ramsey, I want you to like take it out of your brain, throw it on the floor and crush it with your foot or something. Or with your drink, or just toss it. Because Dave Ramsey only likes using cash. Screw that if you've got a business. That doesn't work. IRS agent's not going to be like, oh, wow, you paid that with cash? I'm totally okay with that. They'll be like, what? No. So if you pay it with a debit card or credit card or an ACH or a wire transfer, that's all in your bank statement. So why do you need to keep a receipt unless it's something like Walmart that you can buy a bunch of different stuff or something big? Because honestly, like you buy something at Office Depot, you can just trash that receipt. What the hell are you going to buy at Office Depot or McDonald's? Just trash it. Unless you're buying the oven in the back of the McDonald's, zero reason for you to keep that receipt. Like, just trash it. A lot of older CPAs would not agree with me. Just FYI, we disagree on this.
Well, that's why you guys should use Mari, guys, I guess.
I just
No, it's funny is that I never carry cash.
good.
Yeah, I don't have any cash. Anyone wants to rob my house, there's literally no cash.
Well, they have a lot. They have 3D printers to steal. I'm just saying. They have a lot of other stuff they can steal. You're like, shut up, buddy.
I am sure. No, I moved it overseas.
It's a different house.
Yeah, to my cousins in Asia. So let's see. We have fitness, food, hunting, golfing, drinking, dogs, cats, books, fiction books. What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun?
Yeah.
Talk about work and drink.
Okay, you're the wrong person to talk to.
I work all the time.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask Brian.
Man, I should have just asked. Like, we need
Brian.
So we need someone who actually have hobbies.
Brian golfs. He's got hobbies.
We have golf down. It's like just own a country club or work for a country club.
Ski and snowboard and do stuff.
Oh, that's good. So let's do skiing and snowboarding.
See, the thing is,
own a timeshare or sell one of those timeshare companies.
If you had like an industry where you did more tennis shoes or skater stuff, you could like deduct ski trips and things like that.
Oh, if you're a manufacturer, or if you
if you're like trying to try stuff, or you're trying to see how this. I mean, there could be reasonings why you'd go try to look to see what those things were like, and they'd have to be a reasonable reason why you're going.
E-commerce, like if you sell
e-commerce or a retail space or anything like that.
I feel like the answer to everything is like just own an e-commerce store.
That'd be nice.
Right? It's like for me, like board games. So because my whole business is about
that's true.
Selling custom board game pieces, any board game I want is tax deductible.
That's true. You could do a lot of board game. What's the word? You could do a lot of board game like research, like of how things are. Let me text Brian, tell him to come over here.
And my research is reviewing this with my family because I want to make sure it's family friendly because I'm selling it to families.
Yeah, you have a lot of gamers. Like I have a lot of gaming industry, and they do a lot of buying of different video games and things like that to test it out and learn some more stuff and see how everyone's doing. And that's all deductible too. But I can't buy video games like that. Would not be deductible.
Video games, they own a game studio, or
like a lot of game studios or virtual reality people or things like that. They're doing a lot more research and development. They want to have like a library of things, especially like when people come in or like they're viewing things, like they want to have a library of stuff. Then they definitely need those things. They definitely need to buy those things. So that for them, do you know why this is why it's so hard when people are like, give me a list of deductions? And I'm like, so different for everyone.
Because everyone's business models are different. So
I mean, there's a basic list of deductions that everybody knows. Like you can just Google it with normal stuff, but it's just so varied comparatively to different people, right? Like I'm sure like all the stuff I use is so different. You know what I mean? It's so different.
yeah.
All the research that I grab and all the analytics stuff that I get is totally different than like a different industry.
Because if like a startup, if you're creating a weird or very niche like product, then all the expenses are going to be a lot different for you.
Then we also have, especially for startups, if you're creating like a product or even a video game or even a new beer, then we're talking about like research and development credits.
So if you did a snowing simulator, it's like
Uh-huh.
not only can you have video games deducted, but hey, I'm gonna go on ski trips because we're
Well, that's not research and development.
modeling the slopes based off of
Yeah,
the 10 famous ski slopes in the world.
Yeah, you could do that. But research and development is like something new. You're creating something new. Like a lot of breweries take the research and development credit when they're doing a new beer. So if they're experimenting with a new beer and all the supply is used to make that new beer, that's research and development for a new product, which creates a credit. You can use the credits to kind of offset some of that stuff, which could be
that helps with travel expenses, because say you want to go to like different countries and test out the different.
Well, so there's a list of expenses that you can use that are direct expenses for that actual research and development. Travel is not one of them, but you could deduct the travel. It's just not part of the credit. If that makes sense. So like supplies or contractors that actually are creating the new product, that would be part of the credit. But you could do like research, totally different research. That would be considered still an expense for the business, regardless. That makes sense? You're not drinking at all.
No, I am. It's just
I'm
so ingrained in the conversation.
It's just really
Maybe we
strong.
should take shots if we can't come up with a business.
I do have shot stuff. So in Brian's from Massachusetts, so they have this thing where it's apple pie shots. Oh my God, it's so good. I probably should have put some in a bottle for you and taken it to your house. Don't you live by me now? Don't I live by you?
I think so. 15 minutes away.
Oh, because I live on like the west side now.
I live next to wherever I work. So.
Oh, I know where you work. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody knows where you work. YJ. It says it on your Facebook.
Okay, so we have travel, video games, board games, snowboarding, fictional books.
You're just doing all the fun stuff. What other
dogs, cat, gardening?
What hobbies you do? You love to read. But
we went over it. Gardening. So like
gardening.
Yeah, all my plants are dead, so I need to. It's not because I don't have a green thumb. It's just because of the snow. So I need to replace those, and they're expensive.
Okay, this is the interesting part about gardening / home repairs or anything to that nature. When we have the home office expense and clients are coming or customers are coming over to your house or you're using your home as an office. Now, this is only if you own your own business. This is not if you're a W-2 employee. But if you own your own business and you have a home office, technically there's direct expenses and then there's indirect expenses, right? So the direct expenses are anything inside of that office. Let's say this is my office. This would be my couch. That's 100% deductible. This is my table, the 100%. The direct expenses, the computer, the laptop, anything direct in that office space. But outside of that, indirect, like your utilities and your internet and your rent and your gardening, your repairs and your maintenance and anything outside of that would be considered an indirect expense. It's still allocable to the house to the office, your square footage versus the square footage of your office. So it's still a portion. So if it was like, I don't know, 40%, you could take 40% of those costs, of those indirect costs. So 40% of your office is what holds the office in that house, then you could technically write off that amount. Now, that being said, I should preface all of this with talk to another CPA or financial advisor where you make these decisions on your own.
Legal disclaimer, talk to your CPA.
Or you make these decisions on your own, just do it on your tax return.
Then everyone's just going to come to you and you're my CPA now.
She was drinking a margarita and sad.
I'm hopeful that this will help you bring business, maybe. I don't know. It's
I
like
mean, I'm
these
trying to
RS people will just start coming over and auditing our call.
shh, don't say that. But that being said, you could like the thing is like for everyone, like if you're a sole proprietor, the home office deduction is different for S corp or C corp or a partnership. Those are like so the way it's structured is different, but it doesn't mean there's not a home office expense. It's just structured a little bit differently. So I would just be wary of that. Don't. I'm telling you a great big overview of home office expense. And like I said, the thing that screws up everyone at okay, so back before Trump, you could, if you were an employee of a business, you could actually have unreimbursed employee expenses that included home office expense. Now, it was all depending if you had use the standard deduction or itemized deduction, you had to go over that standard deductions to do it. But there was still employee unreimbursed expenses, and Trump did away with that. So like employees actually cannot do home office expenses anymore by themselves unless they actually own a business. There's just that's gone.
Got it. So like my office that I use for whoever I work for, I can't deduct that, but my own business in my garage, not in my garage because HOA doesn't allow that. I can deduct. Okay, cool. I'm glad we cleared that up. But that's so a portion of your gardening or maintenance can be.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's COVID time. So it has to be reasonable. Like in normal days, like if I had a home office at my house, a lot of CPAs, when they have home offices, they have clients come over and drop off stuff. So technically they want their garden to look nice. That could be allocable to their home office. This becomes
But you're not inviting anyone to your.
Not to my house now. I have an office. Yeah, if you have an office space for your business, you cannot take home office. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah, like that's frowned upon unless let's say you were at your office, you can't get actual work done. Let's say it's like a studio of some sort or a hair salon, and use your home office to like invoice people. A little bit different with if it was like a manufacturing place and use your house for an office space, totally different. So it just all depends. Like you can't have really if you have a home office, it's because you have no other office. Like
so
I have.
It's interesting because when I got this house, I have one. I guess it's supposed to be a dining room, but I changed it to a conference room. There's a conference table. It's literally a conference table.
I've seen you eat on there before. Like you eat on there.
Snacks, I guess, if I'm working there. And then I have an upstairs loft, which I had a futon there, which I just got rid of, and then bought another conference table there. So I have I have two conference rooms, and
so are we
my
talking
kitchen.
Like 50% of the house?
Probably more, because for me, I guess I have a bedroom, and then I have the bathrooms, but all the common spaces, I just either I bought conference tables, or like for my kitchen, I actually bought a commercial dehydrator. I started buying like these commercial equipment. Like I bought a super automatic espresso machine for my caffeine fix. And then I actually thought about buying like instead of one large kitchen table, I wanted a few like small ones so it could have a little bistro or a little bar. So I can have a like in-home restaurant. So can I, if I actually started a restaurant, started promoting my house?
And you could if it was a restaurant. Like then you have to get food permits and lots of other stuff, though, YJ.
Okay, okay, food permits. So that's what I need next.
But also, you could give away alcohol for free, so you don't have to get a liquor like a beer license. Although beer licenses aren't that hard. Like we did our liquor license, you just have to. But it might be harder to do at your house. Versus also, is that commercially zoned? It has to be commercially zoned property to be a restaurant. So I don't know if you could get a mixed bev license or like a beer and wine license.
Okay, then you check zoning.
You got to check zoning. You can have a business out of your house and have people come over, but there's like rules in different cities. It depends on different cities. Like in Georgetown, you can't like you can have a home office in your home, but you can't have more than 2 or 3 people at a time. Like then it would be, then it has to be commercially zoned. I'm not sure about Austin, but I do know Austin can be harder with commercially zoning. They are a little bit harder. That's why a lot of times people, like especially manufacturers, they'll move to different counties around Austin because it's just so hard to do a lot of stuff. There's so many different rules and regulations. Not that it can't be done, because it totally can. And this is like a Matt Wright question, because and Grady Wright, they've been doing it for so long with Better Half and Brew and Brew and all their little brother, all the crap that they do, man. They all know, like while they're sleeping, how to open a restaurant in Austin.
Okay.
You really want to open one. I'm pro you opening more businesses.
Yeah, maybe I just need to buy another house in a commercial location.
And a commercial location. Real estate.
Or just buy an office space really and actually live there.
You can do that too.
No.
Wait, but you have roommates at your house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, you can't take the whole cost of home office. It has to be the part that you pay.
But they're my coworkers now because they help me with my business.
You can contract pay them. But who's paying the rent? Are you paying 100% of the rent? It's only up to what you pay, not what you don't pay. you gotta allocate for your portion.
Okay. Yeah, I probably need a CPA because like my tenants are also coworkers. And my whole house could be like, if I would, huh?
Does it intermingle?
Yeah, they intermingle, and I have them help me out with shipping and logistics sometimes.
Rent? No.
And they also pay rent.
This is the other thing. I don't like bartering. When people barter, like you have to record it technically. So I do it with only my really trusted people that I like know I can trust. But like
we're friends. From.
Yeah, I guess so. But you just have to remember in the bartering side of it, what amount is that? Do you know what that amount is? Write it down. Like it's a little wish-washy because you're paying them for contract labor, and then they're working for you to pay rent. So
no, they're completely separate because there's sometimes I have hours and sometimes I don't. Yeah,
it's totally separate.
It's completely separate. Like they're not obligated. Of course, if I potentially could give them enough hours to pay it off, but it's completely separate agreement.
Separated? Okay, that's good. Barters are weird, and I do get asked, "Hey,
no, that definitely makes it weird because like, if I start not having enough business for them to work, it's just yeah.
Then it makes it weirder. It makes it harder.
So gardening, but you only mentioned a percentage of it. So how can I have
percentage if you have a home office? Now, different story if you're like gonna. Like I had one friend of mine who like was gardening stuff and they were selling the flowers and the fruit. Now, it's totally different if it's food related. There's different rules on food and produce. But if it's like, I had one person who just did a lot of flowers and they would sell their stuff that they would garden and that would make them money. And then all the supplies that were related to their gardening was 100% deductible. So like you could totally do that. It has to be something that you're like really side gigging it. Like
so if you're selling it to retailers,
you sell it to like your neighbors, hey, who or like on Facebook and be like, hey, who wants to buy these flowers? And people buy it. Or you could like actually, I don't know the terms of gardening because my dad's such a great gardener. Why can't I get a green thumb like my father? I don't know. He's so good at gardening. I'm terrible. I've made cactuses die. Like people buy me cactuses and they die. I'm like, how the fuck is that possible? Don't they like live really long? How do I kill a cactus? I don't know.
You literally don't need to water it.
I kill cactuses too. It's insane. It's weird. I don't know. But so the thing is, if they're gonna, how like you can grow something and then you take it out of weed it out and put it in a pot and then sell the pot. You could do that. And then all of that's deductible.
A lot of people do that on Etsy as well.
You could do it on Etsy, or you're right. You could do pretty much anything on e-commerce. Like technically, you could just literally just do e-commerce all the way. I also have a glass of wine. I haven't touched. I really wanted to try this.
Do it. Sorry, I just kept talking. So let me show you everyone where we're at right now. So we have gardening home repairs. I'm gonna use e-commerce for everything.
What am I forgetting?
I probably want to explore the travel bit a little bit more because
Oh, I have lots to say about travel.
Okay, let's do that.
I have lots to say about travel because there's so many here. Let me pull up if I can find it. Back before COVID, I would do a lot of conferences and stuff. And that was like
Trade conferences. That's a good one.
Trade conferences, yeah, that's a good one. That's deductible. That is a very good one, actually. But I would do a lot of conferences and workshops on different things that are tax deductible. It changes every year, all the time. But one of the really great ones is travel. And like one of the rules, here, let me open the newest one.
The goal, guys, is if you want to travel somewhere, find a trade conference. Find a trade conference. Find a trade conference in that country or region.
Yeah, but like the idea is
because they'll pay for your to and return flight, and then everything else you can just
yeah.
Okay,
so here's the thing. Oh, I can't find where is it? Okay, so for all business, of course, it's 100% deductible for travel. But if you're inside the US, if you spend more than 50% of your time doing business, 100% of the transportation costs are deductible. So let's say you go somewhere and you're spending and you do like your half, like you're going to see your grandma, but then half the time you're working. That the flight or that gas or whatever is all 100% deductible. But the days that you're in a hotel, it's only the days that you're working. You know what I mean? But outside the United States, like you're going to a different country, which I guess is not a thing anymore. It's a little bit more flexible. Like you just have to spend at least 25% of time in business, doing business, and all the cost is 100% deductible for the travel cost. If it's less than 25%, you can deduct it still. It's just that it's proportional to how much time you spend working through your trip. So I always tell anyone, if you're going to go out of the country, just make sure you spend more than 25% doing business. And if you're in the United States, just make sure you spend more than 50% of the time. Because people are like, oh, I'm going to one day, I'm going to be at a conference, but I'm going to be there all week. And I'm like, no, find other reasons to do business there and spend half the time so you can make it 100% of transportation costs deductible. It just makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So travel's a really good one.
Here's a quick knowledge check. So outside, as long as 25% of your business in another country, or in another country, 25% of the time is business.
Out of the country.
Out of the country. And everything, including food, is tax deductible?
Well, no. Just I'm talking about
travel.
Like flight.
Transportation. Okay, got it.
Mileage and gas or whatever. But the days that you're working are all relative based on, like you're working and you have that hotel that night, then that would be included. So those are all relative, like hotel and like meals, those are all relative to what if you're working those days. So those are all proportional to how much time you're working. So if you're doing 50% of your time business, you just 50% lodging cost.
Cool.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah. This is why you guys should hire CPAs when you travel.
Yeah, it's just like questions like this. Also, the other thing that like people also
you could work with travel agents to generate business too.
I have a ton of travel people. Yeah, they all had a really shitty year last year, but I work with a lot of travel people. Travel industry is really big. I've done a lot of podcasts and conferences for travel because it's such a big industry. The other thing I was going to say, because I'm looking at one of my old things, gifts. Like everyone screws up gifts. Like they call things gifts because gifts are limited to $25 per person. So instead of calling them gifts, you really should call them like promotional items or marketing, which is 100% deductible because gifts are limited to $25 per person. Now it can be like medical stuff or anything. It has to be like, I don't know.
So as long as you put your logo on it.
Yeah, if you put your logo on, exactly. I always say a business card, put your business card with it. That's an easy way. Like if I'm going to send a big tips treats and that's $50, I'm going to send like my business card or put my information on it. Does that make sense? Tip treats, you can't really put your logo, but you're going to put your name, your business name.
Just find a bunch of like stickers and then just everything that you're going to gift out. Just
Hey, that's true. I need to buy stickers. That's actually a good idea.
Which is a business expense. It's like promotional.
Marketing expense.
Yeah, marketing.
Totally marketing.
Cool. So for people who like stickers, any business,
I love stickers. Who doesn't like stickers? People don't like
these are
stickers.
marketing expenses. So our friend Ashley asked.
Oh, Ashley. I love Ashley.
She asked a question, which was,
Is she watching?
crap,
What's
I
her
just
question?
lost it. It's
How did
something
you
about
lose
employee
it?
housing. Give me a second. So she asked, what about, can employee housing be an employee benefit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would, the thing about employee housing, it's more like corporate housing. It's not really an employee benefit, but yeah, you can do housing as like corporate employee benefits, especially when there's like a lot of, you have to be somewhere specific area that you can't really be at. You don't live there. And so a company could put up another.
But
like,
the
I mean,
employee would have to report on his taxes. That's a benefit.
if it's a benefit, they're living there. That would be
Right.
if they're like living there.
So they'll have to pay taxes on it.
Right. Now, also, there's different ways to go about it in the sense of, I always tell businesses, like, if you can find Oracle bought, like the apartment housing, like, so that people can stay there, but it is an employee benefit. So you could pay taxes for a lot of that benefit, but it's still like mutually beneficial because it's still a deduction for the company. It's still lesser than paying rent. And also you can also come up with a reduced rent and discounted rent. There's like lots of different ways to structure that. There's a lot of benefits.
If you own your own business, just
Yeah, like we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in my office for a very long time, though, to be fair. And I was like, I can't live in my office anymore.
But so if you own a house, because if you live in an office, would that mean, can you buy a bed for your office?
I have a bed in my office right now. Yeah.
So that's taxable, deductible. But if you live in a house, it's not, because it's a house.
I put a bed in my office because I got a house. I rented a house and I turned it into an office. So because Marcy and I, my assistant, we had children. This was years ago. Her children are a lot older and so are mine now. But we had children, and whenever it was like summertime, our kids were like basically in the parking lot. And it was like, oh my God, our kids are gonna get run over, like in the parking lot. Like we need to get a different office space. So we like specifically got a place that we converted to an office with a playroom in the back and a kid's room and a bedroom. So that way like her and my kids could like sit on the bed and watch TV. And so we could work. Like we got it. We got that. I like expensed everything.
Oh, wow. So all your kids enjoying their lives are
in my office.
And your office is taxable. So if you have kids,
because I have a separate house.
Oh, as long as you have a separate house.
Yes, yeah. I had a separate house at the time. I still have a separate house now. I mean, at the time when I got the office, like I literally got it so I can have my kids late with me at work, and they could have a kitchen and a backyard that they didn't get run over in a parking lot. So like
so this separate house could just be beds, and then you just live in the office.
We had offices in there. And,
okay.
And the back was a bedroom and a playroom for the kids. It's changed a lot since then because of COVID, obviously. Like, and now I have more employees. So some people work from home and they come 2 days a week. So it's a little bit different. And then Marcy's kids have gotten older now, so they don't use it like my kids use it more. My kids are still younger than hers, and so hers are like about to graduate high school now, and her twins and her youngest daughter
play in the playroom.
What's that?
They could still play in the playroom.
No, her youngest daughter helps me babysit my kids. Like, okay. So that's a whole other thing. And so, yeah.
And
I mean,
would that be a business expense as well? Because yeah. Okay.
And I had every time I've had a baby, the last 2 babies, I've had a nanny. Like I've paid through payroll through my company to like basically have us at my office for anyone to use, so that way we were able to work and have babies, which I did.
I think that's a good point too. Like as long as it's for every single employee, it's not a specific employee benefit, so you don't personally have to pay taxes on it.
I had another assistant there that had smaller kids, and she would go pick them up after school and she would have them there too. Yeah, we would use it. Oh, there comes Brian. Come hither. Were you taking a nap? What are you doing? What did you want to ask Brian? You wanted to ask him his hobbies. Yeah,
just what hobbies do normal people have?
you're asking, you and I have no idea what normal people have.
So the question is, so out of all these I wanted to ask about car, because I think
Car.
that's a big one too. So I have everything, and we talked about bed. So how can I get my car tax deductible?
Sit down on the floor.
Why are you sitting on the floor?
Yeah, that's a question. Why are you sitting on the floor?
I can move it up. There.
Hey, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
What's up?
It's a pleasure finally seeing your face. I heard lots of things about you. We've been on calls together, but here's what I have, Brian. The whole premise of this is, how can we make our whole life tax deductible? These are all the businesses that, whether in our lifetime we can start, or at least partner up with people are. So that
YJ, maybe not everyone wants to start a business.
Yeah, but it's, you can, like, hey, if say Brian owns a gym, then I'll be your coworker. I'll be your employee number 5, and that way my fitness will be deductible.
What other hobbies do you have? Oh, you do working out.
Well, we have fitness, so.
We have fitness. What he likes the snow stuff, snowboarding.
Oh yeah, I snowboard when I'm back home or in Colorado. Sports, I like watching sports.
Oh, he does like watching sports.
Oh, okay, watching sports. So how can we make watching sports a deduction? That goes into entertainment.
Remember I told you about entertainment. It has to be related to the industry that you're in. You can't just do entertainment.
So own a sports team.
Yeah, like own a sports team. No, it could be like, you could be a coach, or you could like,
can't you just be like an influencer and just do you just do nothing? And
yeah, I mean, he has a very good point, actually.
You don't really do much. You just
a lot of
chill and
a lot of
cool
influencers
and dress nice and work out and get paid somehow.
That's true. He does have a really good point.
Yeah.
An
influencer. You can just do whatever you want. I'm an influencer for this and that sometimes.
But you have to like actually promote and have people following you. You have to actually like do stuff.
You can just buy that.
Oh.
It's an expense. Write it off.
He watched that. Did you watch that Hulu thing, YJ? It's on Hulu. I think it's called Fake Famous. You haven't seen it?
I think I've heard the thesis of it, but no. But it seems like I have to.
You can be an influencer. I actually have a lot of clients that are pretty good influencers, great, and like one of them specifically, like she does a lot of fashion stuff, and like when she buys clothes, it's all tax deductible. But like when I do love to buy clothes and shoes, 100%, that's true. That's
be in the fashion industry.
That's your hobby too. You like shoes.
Oh yeah.
He's a sneakerhead. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
So shoes is like for reselling it, so you can have all the shoes.
I've been trying to convince him to do a sneaker shop. That's what I think you should do.
It's just too saturated.
It's just even online.
And I don't like any. Yeah, it's just.
But
it's just oversaturated.
But you have some that are like pretty special. You could put it on. What's that website?
Yeah, StockX is why it's saturated because of stuff like that. Or it was saturated before that.
But that's like already a business. Just
like being a sneakerhead is nothing special anymore. It's not underground. It's very mainstream.
Yeah.
So
and the fact that you just
at one
mentioned
point it was, and I think that skate shoes really started it in the 90s. I think skate shoes and Jordans are what really started it. But I don't like Jordans, and I don't skateboard anymore. It's more runners and retro runners for me. New Balance, Saucony, Nike.
But you have some stuff that you've never worn. You should sell it on StockX, and then you could like actually make.
I don't want to though. I just.
Or what about this? What if like say
I do wear them. Like I bought a sneaker that didn't fit me, and it's just sitting because I'm too lazy to sell it.
So what if like shoes was a material to a piece of art that Brian was making? So he could be like, it could be like a blank canvas, and you can glue one of the shoes that he doesn't use on the blank canvas and put it on Etsy. I don't know.
You have to sell it, YJ.
Like,
You'd have to put it on Etsy.
He could buy a bunch of shoes. Like, he can just say, these are materials for a piece of sculpture I'm building with shoes.
What you want to make? What would you do? Sculpture? Sell it?
Yeah, you sell it. You'll try to.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna buy it.
I don't know. The only thing I think would work is buy and sell sneakers, but I'd probably get sick of that pretty quick, honestly.
But you wouldn't have to do it all the time. That's the thing about
Yeah,
a side
and
gig.
I don't buy sneakers all the time. I just probably have more sneakers than the average person.
So we have clothes, we have shoes, we have.
But just so you know, if you are an influencer, he had a good point. Like I always tell everyone, if you blog about it and do a fashion list of like where you got these items from, if you did like photo shoots, like that technically is deductible for like promotional things and photo shoots or anything. Like they're considered wardrobes and costumes. Same thing with all my singers and musicians and stuff. If they're doing shows and they're buying outfits for those events, although I guess we're never going to have those events again. I don't know. Eventually we will. And those things are tax deductible as costumes and wardrobes. But I couldn't do that like in my industry.
So like influencers and e-commerce is like a catch-all for any hobby that you have.
A lot of stuff.
Entrepreneur and
Stop it.
influencer is a catch-all.
No.
I'm an entrepreneur.
That's not the catch-all. It has to be a reasonable expense for the industry that you're in.
Yeah, I was like, what hobby can we like pursue
Don't
and it
ever-
could be tax deductible?
Ever
So if
call
you're
it
an
a hobby in front of an IRS agent. Just so you know. They will make it very not tax deductible anymore. It's a side gig. It's not a hobby. It's my side gig. That's what you want to say. You don't want to say hobby.
Okay, I'll do that. Or it could be like what hobby product that you can create. So,
Yeah,
but car, let's go back to car because I don't think we ever finished that.
Oh,
So,
cars. Yeah, that's a really good hobby for people because
Yeah.
people will like oil change or fix cars up and they'll actually legitimately get paid for it in some way or another. And
So
so
if you're
technically,
a delivery, I'm assuming if you're renting it out.
oh, like renting a car? Or
Well, no, like if you like, how can I make my car that I'm about to buy a expense? So if you're using it as a delivery medium, and then
as a delivery truck, you mean?
yeah, delivery truck or delivery Tesla.
So here's the thing about cars. You have to have another car that you also use. If you're going to make something 100% business use, you have to have another car for personal use.
Can you get a dealer plate or a dealer license, or do you have to own?
I think you have to be a dealer to get a dealer license.
Oh, a dealership. But if you own a dealership, yeah.
Well, you don't necessarily have to have a dealership.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
you would know.
my dad was a wholesaler.
And did he had dealer cars?
I don't know. I think it's different state to state.
Oh, maybe. But for anybody who has one car, you can do a percentage of business use versus percentage of personal use. And then from that point, either do a mileage or real numbers, gas mileage, gas.
Is that really complicated to do, or is it just tedious?
No, it's not. If you buy a car, if it's over 6,000 pounds, we could section 179 it up to a certain, like what you make money on. And especially if it's 100% business use, we could bonus depreciate it. If it's under that, there's different rules for cars, but really I always tell everyone, just give me everything. Tell me what percentage of personal use. If they're like, I never use it for personal use, this is the only car I use for business use, and I have another car for personal use, then I'm like, okay, let's put it all for business. But the records come to them, like they have to legitimately show like that's what they use, and on a calendar, like all their travel kind of matches what they're saying that they use it for. But
It's just easier to just have another car, like.
Yeah, it would be easier.
Like, oh, I think my neighbor's selling an old car for $3,000, and then let me buy this $100,000 car for business.
You can, but you could just say your car is 60% business use, 80% business use. Like I have clients that will use Lyft for personal stuff, so they know like pretty much all of their car stuff is all business use anyway.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like,
can I buy a new car, and how do I how do I pay the least
you
amount
have
of
to
money?
have a side gig, boo.
What's my side gig?
I told you gotta open your
Influencer.
secret shop.
Oh no, she's
Yeah, I'm
Brian's.
an influencer and I don't really do anything. I just chill.
He just hired photo. He could do delivery for food while you're working for accounting. Yeah, so he
works more than I do. He's
well,
like,
the purpose is like getting like his car deducted. So just like during dinner, he'll bring you food, and that's the business.
oh, you're gonna bring me food every day for dinner.
Maybe.
No, sorry, I think I just volunteered you for something.
But that means I have to pay you for it.
Maybe. I I'd like to start cooking food again when the grocery
Oh.
stores get food back in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't gone to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Is there food in the grocery stores? I don't know.
They're started to, and at least where I live.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been in a few days.
Cool. So we have car. We have. I guess I'll show everyone where we're at right now.
Don't you have a 3D printing gig?
He does.
Yeah. So that's.
I'm interested in that. That sounds pretty cool.
He wants to know more about that. He wants
Okay.
to go over and use your 3D printer. Can we do that?
Do what?
He wants to go over and play with your 3D printer.
Yeah.
talks about
No, anytime.
There's this company out right now, out of California, that 3D prints rocket ships called Relativity Space. And they've made basically the world's largest 3D printer, and they print out the shell of the rocket that they then launch into space. It's wild. That's how they're gonna build colonies on Mars. They're gonna send printers up there, and then they're gonna print out. Or that's
YJ,
what they
it could be
wanna
your
do.
contract. Be like,
Yeah.
I'll print it for you.
3D printing that's really interesting.
Yeah, what I love about 3D printing is because it expands to various industries. For me, it's just like, if I want to travel, all I need to do is print whatever business I'm traveling there for. It's just like, hey, here's my friend in Taiwan who needs a 3D printed part.
Yeah, and then
Just
it's
bring it over
25%
personally.
Business use, you can the travel expenses are deductible.
White glove
They
service.
print rocket ships out of a 3D printer, and it took me almost 5 hours to assemble something.
It's IKEA though.
Blows my mind. All right, I gotta go.
Okay, go to
All right.
Target.
Bye,
Okay,
Jay.
Bye, bye, Brian.
Good luck with that.
All
Where
right.
we at?
What hobbies are we missing from here? We have fitness, food, hunting, golfing, drinking, stickers, employee housing, bed, playroom, daycare. As long as it's for everyone, it's not your personal employee benefit.
Mhm.
Watching sports, influencer e-commerce, just a catch-all for everything. Car, clothes, shoes, gifts, travel, gardening. If you own a farm, I guess, as well.
This is the thing about farming though. You can actually take more than 3 years of losses on farms because they have a lot of losses. So that's a little bit different. They're not as particular for farms because they do have a lot of losses each year. So they're not really as tax auditable on that side of things. They're a little bit more lax on the farming industry just because it's just got really shitty years for long periods of time.
Yeah.
So it works a little bit different, but you still have to be careful. And again, always talk to a tax advisor or a CPA.
Which, if you have Mari as a CPA,
Harvey, you talk to, I just always have to say that. I don't want to be blamed for people stupidly doing stuff on their tax return during low tax.
but if you guys want to do whatever she just said, just have her as your CPA.
Yeah,
You'll
you
be
can
good.
I can just advise you directly.
So we have dogs and cats.
Yeah, but that's like also like veterinarian services or like, but you could be a vet tech too. That's a lot cheaper than a veterinarian, I think. Less knowledge, I think, and less years. Right?
Yeah. Which
That's
is like,
zero interesting to me. I would not do that.
what other hobbies do people have? So we have travel, trade conferences. We have research and development, your own travel agency, I guess.
This is why I was down here, so I could see my screen better.
And
We said
gifts, as
We
long as you
said,
stop
like-
us for a business card.
direct expenses for the office, home office, subscriptions.
Art
Like,
supplies,
is a
art.
good one.
Yeah.
Art supplies is a good one because if you're an artist or any kind of art person, it just can't be a hobby. So that's a hard one because I actually have a lot of clients that are legit artists and that's what they're doing for a living. And they're also professors at UT or Texas State or whatever. So like they can like actually legitimately take those supplies and art stuff as expenses. Now, this is also part of my direct expenses in your house. Let's say you have an office space and you want to put artwork up. Those are 100% deductible. and like my office space at my office has a lot of artwork by amazing artists, and those are all 100% deductible.
Also, it's like this one part of your house is really pretty, and the rest is lame. There's nothing
Well,
there but empty
the
frames.
idea is that's where you work, and people come into
Yeah.
that one space. There's a lot of people that have home offices, and they have people come into their home office, but also just like Zoom. I know I'm not in my office right now. I don't have my bookshelf, but I have, you've seen my office before. I have a bookshelf behind me with like
Yeah.
books, a ton of books, and then I have my awards, and I have like pictures. I guess I have to take you to the tour one day, but I have a lot of pictures and paintings and prints all around my office that I've collected over the years.
When you and Brian visit, you're just gonna immediately know which one's my office and which one's not.
And it's like that one really fancy
Just by how blank the walls are, you're just gonna know what's.
like this one is your office.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like,
I would know it just we talk all the time. Although your garage could be like part of your office because you have a whole other situation.
Yeah.
And
And for everyone watching, I have labor posters there because my little brother made sure we have it. So just
Okay.
in case you're wondering, there's the Texas labor. Let's see. So art, artist, teacher, professor, if it's in your office space. And then, yeah, just education in general.
So yeah, education in general. That also
Which
maybe
that could
another-
also be a catch-all, right? If you're just like a educator for,
Mhm.
I don't know, you create a master class on how to dress up nice.
Yes, but remember, if you're getting a W-2 as an educator, those are teacher education expenses. And those have a different limitation. Those actually do have a teacher education expense deduction for teachers, like as a teacher. But if you get a W-2 from a company because you're a professor, you might not be able to deduct any of these expenses. It just depends. But I do have a lot of like artists that are also professors. They get a W-2, but they also sell the art, so they're able to deduct like a lot of their art stuff.
Okay.
Do that. So,
That's because they have like their own business on the side.
right. Side gigs. We're
Yeah.
all about the side gigs. Totally.
Okay. So just educator.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed teaching.
Man, you took some good notes.
Yeah, because this is like what my mind goes through whenever I'm talking with people. So if you enjoy that, let's figure out how to make it into a business.
I like it.
So
I like it.
let's see.
Well, as you can tell, Brian works a lot, but I don't think he's really interested in having his own business. Like he's all about the work hustle, but he doesn't really want to own his own business. But he outworks me every day, pretty much. I'm just like, let's go to bed. He's hold on, I gotta send some emails. Like he's busy working.
But if there's someone else who's passionate about making a business, he could be an investor.
That's true.
Then whenever he wants something, it's just a expense.
I don't know, it might change. I think he knows so much about sneakers. I've tried to convince him to do that, but it is a saturated market. Although I do know some people who have made some good money on sneakers. I feel like that is also depending on how you do it. But I don't know. He's just not there yet.
Well, it is a time commitment, I think. I had a friend who did it. It's huge time commitment. Like with everything, it's like research is the most time consuming thing. Man, what are we missing?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I talked about direct expenses. I talked about the Cohen rule. To me, the Cohen rule is like important rule.
The coin rule? Is that this if it's
Honestly, IRS auditors are like way more reasonable than state auditors. Like state auditors like nickel and dime the crap out of you. Like,
which we don't have to experience do
When
it.
you're doing e-commerce, sure, you'll have to experience sales tax.
My little brother does all taxes. In case anyone's watching,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah, sales tax is a whole other ballgame.
Okay, yeah.
That's something you don't want to screw with. And like sales tax auditors are not fun to deal with, but they nickel and dime the crap out of you. IRS auditors, they just have to have a reasonable, and immateriality is a thing. They're just, oh, that's immaterial. I don't care about that. They don't really care about. But if it was like a tiny bit, a few cents off with state auditors, they nickel and dime you. You're like, oh my God, this is not material. What are we talking about?
It's like, here, just take $1, and then they'll consider it bribe.
They're just like, no, we have to write this all down. It's like a whole thing. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm off topic. I don't know. I always tell everyone also, pretty much the majority of my life is work. So like when you think about it in terms of like work, if you question, is this a business expense? My biggest advice to that is it probably is, but what percentage of it is personal? So like reasonably thinking, is this a business expense? You're like, maybe it is, but it could be reasonably a personal expense and there's just a percentage of personal use, but it depends. And then they'll go to me and be like, I'll be like, give me everything. And they'll give me everything. I'm like, oh, that's not tax deductible at all. Sorry, you can't, like, I'm sure like your dog is like some kind of business use, but like, we got to take it out. I'm going to just take that out. That's why I never really want anyone to do their own taxes. Like it scares me when people do their own taxes because there's just some things that are going to be like auditable, right? Like just certain words or certain things that like it's going to be huge red flags to the IRS. But I'm still going to want them to list everything and me make that decision of what's deductible, what's not. And like I said, most everything is, if they're not sure it's tax deductible, they're not sure the business use, it probably is, but it could be like a percentage of it. But anyways.
That's why I refer everyone to you.
I feel like we live in a freaking capitalist society where you can just walk out the door and start a business, but nobody actually like, knows how to like do the backgrounds of like accounting and business. Like it's just finance is just not that important for a capitalist society, which is crazy.
So I save this for last.
Oh, kids. I have so much to say about children.
So $12,000 a year.
You remember?
Tax
Gosh,
free.
you remember me telling you this?
Oh yeah, like I'm never gonna forget this.
But it has to be, remember though, it has to be like for that specific state, like they have to be of age to be able to work. There's different rules in every state about working. Like I think like some people, if you're 16, they can't touch this. They're 16, like they can work, but if they're like 14, or I think under a certain age in Texas, I think it's 12 or 13, you can't work more than 40 hours or I forget, 14 hours. There's like rules to like how many hours it is. And so you have to be careful of those kind of things. But also what's super cool.
Well, can these kids be salaried or do they have to be paid hourly? Because you can just say, hey,
they have track of their hours and they can't work over a certain amount of hours each week. There's rules on like how old they are and how many hours they can work. I think 16 up to 16 and over, it's all up for grabs, or 15 maybe, I can't remember. Like you can work however, you can work 40 hours or whatever. But I think under that age limit, there's like limits to how many hours you can work. And then it has to be minimum wage. You can't go below minimum wage unless it's like restaurant industry. But if it's not, then it has to be minimum wage. So you have to like think about it.
Is it the kids are filing as independents or are they still?
No, they're still dependents. So they're still going to be your dependents. It's just that they're still under that rule of how much they need to like actually report. And it also depends on the parents on how much they make and that kind of thing. But technically also, this is always, I'm always trying to convince kids, if they're going to be working, then like their tax bracket's 0 and they could actually put a good chunk of it into a Roth IRA. And I show anyone like a chart, okay, how much do we want to do for a Roth IRA and put this much every year? And this is how much it's going to be when you're 30. They're like, oh shit, that looks good. But nobody wants, then you have to save your money. You can't spend it. And like a lot of teenagers want to spend it. So that's the hard part. But it's with Roth IRAs, it's 0% tax. And because it's a tax bracket that you're in that year, and more than likely you're going to be in that 0% tax bracket. So it's like totally worth it. And as an employer and your kids, you get to hire your kids, you basically pay them tax free, and it just makes a lot more sense. And you can take tax deduction at the same time. But like I said, there's age limitations, there's AGIs you got to think about, but most of the time it's like totally beneficial to do it that way. I like, it's the best idea.
That's awesome, because now you can just have your kids pay for their own food.
My kids have done a lot of free labor, though, to be fair. I put them to work since they were like little. They like do a lot of free labor. But and then I'll just pay them like.
So that's tough too, because so you're paying them for the business, and then the rest of it is because mommy told you to.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like
that's true, but
hey, finish your homework before you. And your homework is building this marketing pitch deck for me.
Excel sheets and stuff. So like.
Yeah, he does this for fun, so it's not.
He does it for fun.
Yeah, it's just.
But he does like getting paid. He's like, "Where's my $10 an hour? Pocket up." Like he remembers. Like he he like will calculate how much he spent working, and he'll tell me, I spent this many
Oh,
hours
really?
working, so it's $40 you owe me.
Oh, so he's
he
getting
remembers.
smart.
Yeah. Now my 12-year-old reminds me how long he worked.
It's like they no longer think this is like playtime. It's I realize now it's actually helping your business. So you're gonna pay.
He loves money. Like he totally is like me. Like he wants. Maybe he's like the one child I have out of my 4 that will actually be an accountant. I don't know. We'll see. He's 12.
Oh, I can't wait.
I know. My 21-year-old, he's 0. He doesn't want to be an accountant at all.
Yeah.
But my 12-year-old, if it's possible, we'll see. Who's gonna take
But
over
even if
my
they do arts and crafts, like just as long as another kid likes photography, another kid's
No,
like
I
listing
need-
stuff on Etsy
Why?
for
You
some
need an
reason.
accountant. You need someone
accountant.
who's gonna take over my business.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have to sell it to H&R Block or some other firm. Just kidding. Let's not.
Or just hire someone and then just get residuals off of it. Hire someone to manage.
Yeah,
it.
I could sell it to somebody else. I'm joking. I'm not gonna do that. Just. But it's always nice to keep it in the family.
Yeah.
Know? So.
Because you at least know they'll take good care of it.
That and like they literally are being handed over a business that's already made. That sounds like ideal. So.
That's why I would love to just. I don't know. I never raised kids, so who knows? I would imagine just have a kid a year and just
YJ,
maternity leave. So if you have a kid a year,
let me tell you, my 4th child, my daughter, the one that's about to be 3, I did not take. I think I took off that week and I went back to work that next week. Like I had her. I got to the hospital after 3 days. Went to my oldest son's graduation at high school. And then went straight back to work like a few days later, like right away. I went back to work. I was already at the office like that next Monday, I feel. But she was with me at work.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise that for anyone, by the way. I took a lot of time off of my other babies. It's just, it was my 4th baby. I was like, oh, I could totally handle this. It was really hard. And also I had a nanny there. And so I was able to breastfeed while I worked and had the baby there with me. That's just me. I didn't do that with any of my other babies. It was just the 4th. I was like, I got
oldest helped out a bit, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, he was in welding school actually. He wasn't even around at that time. He was in welding school. So I had a nanny. I had like an actual other nanny that was there to help me with the baby while I was working. So she
welders get paid a lot too. Sorry, just welders.
Nanny? Oh, welders? Yes, they do. That's true. He graduated and then COVID hit. So he hasn't really done any welding job yet, but he's got a welding degree now. What are you writing?
Just like toys and just random stuff. Like just,
yeah.
Like you can build it yourself by being a welder or own a 3D printer.
Then we could talk about like buying land and having a ranch. That's a whole other ball game. You can't really deduct the land, but if you had something that you were going to sell or farm or chickens or any agricultural, not only will you can get an ag exemption, but like you could also like sell things. And then when you do fences or any kind of expense for it, you could deduct that, but it has to be like some kind of revenue producing thing. It could be cows. It could be some kind of an Airbnb like that you created. Like you can make something and put something there and have an Airbnb there, or like a destination wedding place or something. It has to be something revenue generating. But there's so many, you could do land improvements and things on there that like the things that you're putting on there, the buildings could be depreciated, the furniture or repairs and maintenance could be deducted, all kinds of stuff. There's so many things. And that goes into like buying houses and renting them. That's a whole other. I could just continue on in this conversation. but that's a whole other conversation.
I love it because if one of your hobbies is like, hey, you want to slowly, buy houses, but just take over like your own little or create your own town, like your own neighborhood. Just like keep buying the whole product. Because I recently learned about contract cities where like literally you could hire your own police station or hire fire station.
You could, but isn't there like things you have to think about, like as far as municipal stuff, and then we get into all kinds of other things.
Yeah, but if your hobby is taking over the world, it's just so
Whose hobby is
violent.
not that? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's everybody's hobby. But
Um,
you could do buying property and then doing a 1031 exchange, selling it and then buying another property, like reinvesting and not having to pay capital tax. People do that a lot too. There's rules and stuff, but totally possible to do.
you can take over land slowly by just owning the titles.
I know Austin area is expensive, but I feel like if you go outside and buy some land, you might be able to find some. I guess just go where though. Like everything's pretty expensive right now. But
I think we covered a lot of things. I will see if I can export this as a PDF and just share it with everyone. So
okay, but just another word of advice: always talk to a tax professional or me or another CPA.
yeah, or just talk to her so that everything that we talked about today is doable. So,
it's all ideas. Talk whatever ideas we had, talk it out with me or a tax professional or a CPA.
Or you. So how can people reach out to? Actually, let's do this because I always end the podcast with two things. Why should people reach out to you? Which we talked about, but in general, why should people reach out to you?
Because I'm awesome. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I never say that. That sounded really tacky. No, they should reach out to me if they have questions. I'm like, we probably know this, YJ. I don't ever charge from phone calls or text. With that, this week has been really hectic just because I had to schedule the whole week last week to this week. It's been craziness. But I try to be as accessible as I can, although sometimes it's crazier than others. I'm feeling a lot better now that it's June 15 deadlines, like June. Although this just means I take it all in stride. But yeah, people can reach out to me if they have any questions or issues or they want me to look over their stuff. I'm happy to help. And I just try to be as forthcoming as I can. And since I do everything, bookkeeping and tax work and CFO stuff, I'm always thinking outside the box about all kinds of different things. So.
And you also do a lot of stuff. So you own a bookstore,
Yeah, I'm the co-founder of a bookstore, and I own a bar in Valentine, Texas with some friends of mine, which that's a whole other project we're working on because COVID happened and we opened it right before the pandemic. So it was crazy, but we have some things up in the works for that. Yeah. And I have like my CPA firm, I have my bookkeeping firm, and it's fun stuff. It's always fun stuff. And so I just feel like it's different industries I work with. It's always challenging and new. When are you going to intern for me, YJ? I'm going to intern.
Oh, whenever.
So you have so many jobs.
No, I always make time. Just don't tell anyone else.
Okay.
It's like my boss is listening to this. So what type of people would you like to reach out to?
Gosh, I do.
What type of people will help you?
Help me?
Yeah, help you or just in general that you're interested in reaching out to.
Gosh, I do so many industries. I love all my industries. I do a lot of SEO, a lot of tech companies, a lot of startups, a lot of like companies that are doing seed rounds and funding. And I help small businesses, large businesses, construction businesses, nonprofits, pretty much anything. Retail, I have a lot of retail experience because I think I'm just a software person, so I can just pretty much pick up any software. So I do a lot of point of sale stuff too, pretty much anything. I don't know. I feel like I could always use more friends, but I have a ton of friends. And it's crazy because all my clients are my friends. So I feel like every day I just have meetings with all my friends. That's really cool. So I just have a lot of fun talking to people. So I become like really close friends with all my clients. And especially my monthly clients that I talk to on a regular, decently basis. Like we catch up and there's a lot of catching up and there's a lot of fun. And then we talk about business. And I am always up for new friends. I have lots of friends, but I'm not exclusive.
By friends, she means customers.
No, I mean, well, because honestly, like my friends that are not my clients, I haven't talked to you in forever. I'm like, you just need to be my client.
To be fair, like everyone needs a CPA. So if you're not using you as a CPA, then like, why are we friends?
I have friends that are not my clients. I have lots of friends.
Oh, really? What traders? Who are they using?
Well, I'm not necessarily.
Unless they're CPAs themselves, like if they're your friends.
I do have a lot of CPA friends. The one thing about the CPA world is we're all friends with each other. And so we're always like texting each other about things that are happening or things. If we have questions about the tax software, like one of my friends is down the street she's a little bit older than me. And she's like the funniest person I know. And she's another CPA. And we're always like joking around with each other and talking to each other and basically just telling each other what's going on. But anyways, we're all like
psychologists. You have your own like little peer group.
Yeah, we do. We pretty much, if I can't figure something out, I'm like, let me call one of my CPA friends and they pretty much walk me through. I don't do a lot. I do like small trust and estates. Like the CPA I was talking about, Amanda McIntosh, she does a lot of bigger trust and estates. I don't really do a whole lot of trust and estates. That's probably the one thing I don't do as much. She does a lot of big ones, but pretty much else. I do a lot of individual taxes, sole proprietorships too, small businesses, things like that. But
I guess for you specifically too, then on that topic is what type of businesses do you like working with the most? Or is that?
I don't have a preference. I like all of them.
All my children are my favorite children.
All my children are my favorite children.
Yeah. So whatever, there's a favorite.
No, I don't have a favorite child.
My little sister's watching this. I know you're my mom's favorite.
But I know, okay. In my family, my little sister is my dad's favorite, I think. And middle sister is my mom's favorite. So I'm the left out one.
So with that being said, would you be able to tell us or what type of business you enjoy working with the most? Or is it just depending on you as a person? It's like, very cool founder.
Right. There's some people that you just mesh well with, like that you're like, oh my God, you're my soulmate. Especially honestly, because it's usually people like you and I that are like entrepreneurs. Like I pretty much, everyone's my soulmate. Like I bond with so many people. Like there's a lot of bonding. Although maybe that's my personality, but there's some people you just like bond with super well. And you're like, oh my God, I wanted to, like, you like everything the same. And there's just like so many so it's really not about industry because it's like more personality. So people are like, oh my God, I hate that girl. Probably don't call me. Okay. Like, so cool. I don't know. But there's just some people you work really well with. It's not like everyone has to be my best friend. There are clients, I have clients that I just, we talk every once in a while and we're fine. It's not like we have to be best friends, but more often than not, it's just fun in general. Like a lot of it's like there's a big social aspect to my job, which is interesting because a lot of accountants are pretty introverted. And so I ended up doing a lot of even before COVID, I would meet with a lot of clients and we'd go have drinks or have lunch or whatever. And so you become friends with them, especially when you're doing their stuff more often. And that's the other thing. I never wanted to charge for phone calls or emails because I wanted them to continue to tell me what was going on without the fear of getting a bill. Because then if they didn't, I'm like, why did you do that? Why did you make that choice? And if I didn't want to get a bill, and I kind of cut that out pretty early on. Oh my God, this year's going to be my 10th year of business. That's a whole other conversation. But anyways, so I cut that out right when I started my own business. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to like nickel and dime and like charge every minute like a lawyer, which has worked out pretty well, I feel like. But anyways.
I think you're a constant inspiration for me. And I wish if I learned how fun you could have as a CPA.
Why can't there be more?
And how you can expense everything if you had the right business. I probably would have gone my own degree. So hopefully we're inspiring students.
Nobody wants to be an accountant. We need accountants. Like we talk about that in the accounting industry all the time. We're like, we always are looking for people to hire.
Because all our professors are so boring. So
I'm not going to be a professor. That's not going to happen.
We'll see, and all the fun ones don't want to be professors. How are the next generation of students or studying accounting? How would they realize that it could be like, hey, let's figure out how to expense out your business or your life? Hey,
did I tell you? I found my senior yearbook, and it said when you open it, like what I want to be when I grow up. When I was 18 years old, 1996, by the way, this is 1996. I put accountant.
Why? Because like I know why now, but like why?
As a kid, I wanted to be an accountant because someone told me they made a lot of money and that they were needed. And so that's why I was like, okay, I'll just go where the money goes. And I like math, although I suck at math, to be honest with you. I think I said that on Marcus's podcast. I'm not very good at numbers in my head. I'm terrible at numbers. You don't have to really be good at math. But I like algebra and I liked calculus. I knew I liked those things. I liked looking at numbers. I just wasn't good at adding numbers in my head. I'm still not good. I'm just like, what? How do I do that tip? Like, what's 12% of that? I'm terrible with that shit. But you don't really need to do it on your head anyways now. It's just not necessary. But somebody told me that they made a lot of money. And so I was like, that's what I want to do then.
But
That's
what
what
I
I did.
realized even more so after talking to you is just when people say that accounting is the language of business, and if you think of accounting as something that you would study in the arts, there is an art and science to it. For me, my biggest takeaway from our conversation is that if there are certain things that in my life that I enjoy doing, and you can create a business around it so that you won't have to pay for all the things I enjoy doing more, as long as you're doing something that can also provide value to other people.
Absolutely.
I think it makes sense. Hey, accounting isn't about math. It's about just understanding, how the world works, what people enjoy doing, and how to make a living doing something that you enjoy.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think a lot of people could enjoy it. They just have to know it. And people are like, how do you know all this stuff? I'm like, I've been doing it for so long. It's just like natural. When you've done something for so long, it just becomes completely natural.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Besides celebrating your birthday for the first time, because
what's next? I just have to get through this deadlines. I have a Delaware franchise tax deadline on March 1st. And then I have the other deadlines, and like business wise, I mean, I feel like I have a lot of things I'd like to do and more plans, but that's for another day.
Yeah. And we'll figure out how to cut the amount of hours that you're working. Anyways, thanks again. I'm just, cheers. I'm going to finish this. Never mind, I'm not. Okay.
Too strong. You should have done shots one day.
Yeah, no. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Can't wait to catch up and enjoy your birthday. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.